Good afternoon. Wanted to talk about the hydrating and staying in good shape for the heat that's coming. First, I wanted to show you what I come up with today on my attachments. I like to carry my attachments with me. So, for the string trimmer, it just cradles here, and the fuel neck locates it. See the fuel neck, that little carve out there locates it. This here slides right out. If I had two hands, I'd be able to show you how quick I can come to bring to action. The edger blade slides right out, and then on the blower, you have to lift up and out at the same time for all the pegs and pins to release it. Okay, so anyway, now I'm back to the old way of having my attachments, even though I don't have the saddle tanks. And I wanted those gone for the clearance aspect because I have to get in under some trees and stuff a lot of times. Hydration, drinking lots of water and stuff, they advocate for that. And I'm not a doctor, so get your own advice on that. But there's science that shows that that's kind of an old school concept. What happens is people mow their lawns so low and they pump water out onto it, and it just assimilates into the atmosphere. And it sets up what they call wet bulb events. And it's a combination of humidity and temperature. Sometimes it's expressed more as heat index, but they call it wet bulb because it's a measurement of temperature with a standard mercury thermometer, except for the bulb is wrapped with a wet towel. So when that is done in that way to measure that, they're measuring not only the temperature ambient of where the thermometer is situated, but it's also measuring how much that moist rag brings the temperature down. With certain conditions of humidity and temperature, it cannot bring that temperature down. And it's during periods of atmospheric condition like that, that no matter how much you perspire, your core body temperature cannot be regulated by normal means. You have to seek climate control. Unfortunately, it goes beyond just humans, livestock as well. If we keep it up with this situation of surfaces and more surfaces that cannot percolate water and let it reassimilate to the atmosphere, then there may come a day when even livestock will have to have climate control. Now what will happen to your food prices? I suppose they'd have to go up. I don't know. So what can a person do to stop this or mitigate it? Cut your lawn as tall as you can so that you protect the soil. If you do, you support the microbes. The microbes create fertility in the soil by digesting the new clippings. See, that's where we come in. We have to come in and take a little bit off the top. When that little bit off the top falls down into a deep canopy where the microbes are protected from the sun, and theoretically there's a little more moisture because the sun can't hit that surface until it's like directly over the top, then that soil becomes capable of holding 3,000 times more moisture than the neighboring soil where it's mowed low. But also, when it holds that moisture, it allows it to be latched in place, and then it migrates down into the aquifer. Whereas, especially in Florida, with it being a sunshine state, the sun generally comes out shortly after it rains. And then if it's the hard packed soils where there's no microbial activity, then it's either running off and carrying with it nitrogen enhancement because there's no microbes to naturally balance the nitrogen on that surface. And then it makes its way into waterways and it kills out another food source with algae blooms or red tide. So these are things that we could think about and work on, and And all it takes is modifying your personal choice such that the choices you make don't adversely affect others. I know that cut height is deemed to be personal choice. The problem with that is that it enhances stormwater runoff. We all pay for that through taxation, the infrastructure to handle that. It can contribute to droughts, and we all have to pay for that with infrastructure to bring water from toilet to tap and back around. It can affect the regularity of the rain, which gives you a situation where you're dependent upon the governments that can create the infrastructure to trap the irregular rainfall, the storms. It can create stormatic weather patterns because it can't get a chance to stop the superheating through a course of a day with a little interruption of rain each day. And then when the weather comes, it's very intense, and therefore all of our property insurance goes up because of more intense storms, superheated waters out in the bay. When you cut it that low, you also are changing the grass's ability to convert carbon dioxide to oxygen. So now you have more of a greenhousing gas in your atmosphere and less of a non-greenhousing. So then you get an overall thermal increase. The chloroplast downregulates in the plant from a low cutting, and therefore it can't pull in the radiation from the sun and reduce radiation heating. It's just on and on as to this. Makes no sense that it's still considered personal choice when the impact goes so much further than your own lawn. I don't know what could be done, but here in Florida we have so many people moving in, and then they each learn eventually that they can't mow that low because of the proximity to the equator and because of our soil conditions and because of proximity to water that can get the red tide, and all that. But by the time they do, the damage is done. There's too many, too rapidly, and the environment and ecologies are at such a precipice of deterioration into a xeric desert scenario, and going rapidly away from a mesic rainforest type plant ecology and weather systems. So I don't know what to say. I've gone through it with a lot of people, and it's just either people nodding their heads and just waiting for me to get out of their face, or or I'm met with open animus and hostility. It's almost like an indoctrination has happened where they're demonstrating all this poor property management practices at the schools, the churches, all the institutions that are supposed to be vested in caring for the public and all these things. And I guess maybe that worked, in that then they come out here and they follow a prescription that leads to, instead of an abundance of organic benefit, leads to full dependency on governments and more powerful political factions. So I mean, it is a matter of choice, but some of us, I guess, maybe shouldn't be in a free society, because if you think that your green lawn experience is more important than other people's health or well-being, then I'd have to say that I'd rather not have you for a neighbor, to be honest. So, all right, y'all have a good day.